feel it before you understand it. The air changes, her tone sharpens, her eyes harden. Something invisible in the room shifts, and your body catches it before your mind does. Your chest gets tight, your throat closes. Your nervous system fires one command. Say something, explain, fix this. You scan for the right sentence. You build the perfect argument in your head. You think, if I stay calm, logical, reasonable, she'll see I'm not the enemy. But here's the truth, no one taught you. The moment you start defending yourself, you've already lost. Women don't escalate to hear your words. They escalate to feel your center. Every explanation, every justification, every long message breaking down your intentions. To you, it feels like clarity. To her, it feels like fuel. You think silence is weakness. You think not responding makes you passive. You think staying quiet means you're shutting down. You're wrong. Silence in a grounded man is not avoidance. It's a weapon. In the next few minutes, you'll see why. Why her emotion is not the real battle. Why your urge to explain is the actual collapse. Why stillness breaks the storm faster than any speech. And how a man ends the spiral. Not by winning the argument, but by refusing to step into the courtroom at all. It always begins the same way. A small comment, a shift in her tone, a glance that lingers half a second too long. You're not listening. You don't care. You always do this. Nothing dramatic, nothing explosive. Just enough emotional charge to touch the oldest wound in your body. And instantly, almost automatically, you step into the trap. You start explaining. Not because you're wrong, not because you're guilty, but because your nervous system still carries the childhood lie. If I explain myself well enough, I won't lose love. So you lean forward, your voice softens. You begin walking her through logic, timelines, facts, hoping she'll finally understand your intention. But you don't see what's happening beneath the surface. The moment you begin explaining, you are no longer a man standing in his truth. You become a defendant in a courtroom of one. Every sentence turns into evidence. Every justification becomes submission. Every attempt to clarify lands like a plea for innocence. You think you're being rational, but what she feels is your collapse. She doesn't track your logic. She tracks your nervous system. Your breathing changes. Your voice tightens. Your eyes dart, searching for the right sentence. The sentence you believe will save you. But she's not listening to content. She's scanning your center. The feminine doesn't judge the argument. It judges orientation. When she escalates, she isn't asking, "Are you correct?" She's asking something far older. Do you stay rooted when my storm rises? And when she senses fear, when she feels you reaching for approval, trying to soothe, fix, justify, something ancient clicks inside her. He is no longer leading the moment. You think you're communicating. You think you're offering clarity. But what she sees is dependence. Nothing kills polarity faster than a man whose emotional stability hinges on a woman's reaction. Because the masculine truth is simple. A man who knows his worth does not explain his worth. A king does not argue from the defendant's chair. A mountain does not justify itself to the wind. You were told your entire life that communication solves everything. But communication collapses when one person is in an emotional spiral. She doesn't want more information. She wants orientation. To feel whether your internal world collapses when hers explodes. And every time you defend, justify, or fix, you reveal the one thing she cannot unsee. Her storm moves you. That's why she escalates. That's why logic becomes gasoline. Because the issue isn't your words, it's your frame. And the only way out is to walk out of the courtroom entirely, not by withdrawing, not by punishing, but through the silence of sovereignty, the stillness of a man who stands in himself. To understand why silence works, you first have to understand what you're facing in these moments. When her voice rises, when her tone sharpens, when her emotions surge like a wave breaking open, you are not speaking to the woman you love. You are speaking to ego. Not her ego alone, but the universal ego wired into every human nervous system. And ego behaves like fire. It does not seek truth. It does not seek logic. It does not seek resolution. Ego seeks fuel. And the strongest fuel for an emotional fire is your reaction. Every explanation is oxygen. Every defense is gasoline. Every attempt to reason is another log thrown into the flames. You say, "Let's talk rationally." She hears, "Here is more oxygen." You say, "Let me explain what I meant." She hears, "Here is more fuel." You believe you're calming her, but your energy is saying, "I am available to be burned." That is why she escalates, not to hurt you, not to win, but because your engagement keeps the fire alive. Your shift in tone, the fire grows. Your frustration, the fire grows. Your calm explanations still fuel, the fire grows. Because you're still in the arena, still reacting, still playing. And in that arena, she feels everything. You feel only your power slipping. Here is the masculine truth most men never learn. A woman in chaos is not seeking your argument. She is seeking your anchor. She watches your breathing, your posture, your micro-expressions, your ability to stay centered. Her escalation is not an attack. It is an unconscious test. Can he hold ground when I lose mine? Can he absorb fire without becoming fire? But when you defend, explain, or chase her emotionally, you fail instantly. Defending means your center is gone. Explaining means you need her approval. Chasing means her energy controls the moment. And when she senses your stability is brittle, the storm rises again, not because she wants chaos, but because she cannot feel you inside it. This is what most men miss. She is not trying to overpower you. She is trying to locate you. She wants the man who cannot be moved, the man whose silence weighs more than her fury, the man whose presence thickens the air. But instead, she finds you explaining, fixing, pleading, apologizing for things you never did. You react. She reacts harder. You feed the fire. She becomes the fire. The cycle continues until one thing happens. You stop playing. When you remove the fuel, when you meet chaos with stillness instead of strategy, the fire has nothing left to burn. Silence suffocates it. Presence starves it. Stillness steals its oxygen. And fire without oxygen cannot survive. It collapses. This is the doorway to the most dangerous transformation, becoming the void. So what do you do when the fire reaches its peak? When her voice rises, when her emotion spikes, when every instinct in your body screams, fight back, explain, protect yourself. You do the opposite. You do the one thing almost no man has ever been taught. You become the void. Not passive, not avoidant, not silent from fear, silent from sovereignty. The void isn't emptiness, it is capacity. It is the space that swallows storms without losing form. Here is the paradox of masculine presence. The louder she becomes, the quieter you become inside. The higher she rises, the deeper you root. Her emotion expands outward like wildfire. Your awareness drops inward like a still bottomless lake. This is not a tactic. It is a transformation. You stop reacting to her words. You sense the energy beneath them. Your shoulders loosen. Your breath sinks low. Your eyes soften, steady, unthreatened, unmoved. Your body stops bracing. Your awareness widens. Your presence thickens like the air before a storm breaks. You are not distancing. You are descending, dropping into a self the moment cannot shake loose. Because here is the truth. Her words are not about you. Her storm is not about you. Her intensity is not about you. It is her internal chaos, searching for something solid enough to collide with without shattering. Most men try to block the storm, arguing, attacking, matching fire with fire. But the void does something stronger. It lets the storm pass through without resistance. When she raises her voice, you breathe. When she accuses, you witness. When she pushes or tests, you feel the impact. But you do not move. To her ego, this is terrifying. Because ego knows how to fight walls. It does not know how to fight oceans. Throw a ball at a wall, it bounces back. Throw it into the sea, it disappears. You are no longer the wall. You are the sea. This is why women eventually break down, not from defeat but from relief, in front of men who master this presence. Not because you dominated her, not because you shut her down, but because her ego finally realizes, I cannot shake him. And in that moment, her nervous system softens, not in submission, but in safety. Her storm collapses. Your presence remains. The fire begins to starve. The void is not ignoring her. It is being so anchored, so unmoved, that nothing she throws pulls you out of yourself. It is the highest form of masculine control, unreactive, unafraid, unshakable. But mastery comes with its final test. When the fire realizes it's dying, it surges, it burns brighter, it panics, and that moment destroys most men. The Extinction Burst. If Chapter 3 was the rise of your presence, Chapter 4 is where that presence gets tested. Because the moment you stop feeding the fire panics. When you become the void, when your center no longer bends, her ego feels something it has never felt before. Powerlessness. And ego, any ego, would rather burn the house down than accept it. No longer controls the weather. This is where escalation begins, not to hurt you, not to win, but because the emotional pattern she relied on is dying. Psychologists call this moment the extinction burst, the final surge of chaos before a behavior collapses. Picture a child who always gets candy during a tantrum. One day, the candy stops. Does the child calm down? No. The screams grow louder, the kicks harder. Not because it's working, but because it's failing. Her ego behaves the same way. When she realizes criticism, guilt, or accusation no longer pull you out of center, she escalates. She sharpens her tone. She reaches for old wounds. She throws emotional daggers. You don't care. You're cold. You're abandoning me. Every jab is bait. Every spike is a hook. Every rise is an invitation to re-enter the old battlefield. And this is where most men fail. Because the extinction burst doesn't trigger logic. It triggers the boy inside you. The boy who learned love must be earned through compliance. The boy who learned disagreement brings punishment. The boy who learned silence keeps you safe. The boy who explained himself to survive. When she fires emotional bullets, that boy wants to take over. Let me explain. That's not what I meant. Please don't be upset. But that boy cannot lead a relationship. And if you let him speak now, you lose everything you built in Chapter 3. The moment you defend, justify, or chase, you teach her something devastating. If she pushes hard enough, she can break me. Once she senses that, even subtly, the polarity dies. She may love you, but she cannot respect you, cannot trust your frame, cannot relax into you. So the extinction burst is not about her. It is about you, whether your nervous system can hold pressure without collapsing. Here is what holding looks like. She raises her voice. You breathe once, slow. She accuses. Your shoulders stay loose. She fires a harsh line. Your eyes remain steady. She storms out. Your energy stays level. She demands reaction. You do not move. You are not shut down. You are anchored. You are not cold. You are contained. You are not ignoring her. You are refusing to feed the fire. And a fire without oxygen cannot last. It burns hot. It burns bright. But it burns out. When it dies, you feel the shift. The air drops. Her body softens. Her eyes lower. Not in defeat, but in relief. For the first time, her real self becomes reachable. The storm isn't gone. It has surrendered. This is the doorway. But the next step is where most men destroy the entire dynamic. The king does not. When the extinction burst finally burns out, the room shifts. You feel it first. The atmosphere drops. The heat dissolves. The emotional charge collapses. Her shoulders loosen. Her breath softens. Her eyes fall, not in defeat, but in exhaustion. She isn't fighting anymore. She's landing. This is the moment where most men ruin everything, because silence after chaos feels unfamiliar, too still, too heavy, too calm. And that's when guilt creeps in. Not real guilt, old guilt. The boy's guilt. The boy inside whispers, maybe I was too distant. Maybe I should comfort her. Maybe I should explain myself. I don't want her to think I don't care. Every one of these impulses is a trap. Everyone drags you back into the dynamic you just dismantled. If you cave now, if you apologize, over-explain, or rush to soothe, you undo everything. You teach her, if she pushes hard enough, he breaks. And once that lesson lands, polarity dies. So what do you do in this sacred moment? You wait. Not as punishment, not as withdrawal, not as cold distance. You wait as presence. You let her nervous system finish resetting. You let the ego fully burn out. You let the storm empty itself. You become stillness. She doesn't have to fight. Silence she doesn't have to fill. A presence that doesn't abandon her, but doesn't collapse for her either. And when she finally lands, when her breath evens, when the fire is truly gone, then, and only then, you speak. Not to fix, not to defend, not to justify. You speak to set the frame. Your voice is low, slow, measured, grounded. A man who returned to himself and intends to stay there. You say things like, I don't argue, I'm here when you're calm. Or, I don't leave, and I don't engage in chaos. Or, we talk when both of us are grounded. Simple, clean, unshakable. And something unexpected happens. Her breath softens again. Her shoulders drop. Her eyes lower, not in submission, but in trust. Because the feminine does not relax around a man she can break. She relaxes around a man who does not break at all. A man who can take her storm without becoming the storm. A man whose calm isn't performance, but nature. This is the return of the king. Not dominance, not intimidation, not silence as punishment. A man who found his center and refuses to abandon it, not for comfort, not for approval, not even for love. And when a woman finally feels that man, the real man, the war ends on its own. The return of the king is not the end. It is the threshold. and everything beyond this moment is a different polarity, a different relationship, a different reality. When you stop explaining yourself, everything changes. Not the argument, not the circumstances, you. It begins subtly. A shift in your breath, your posture, the way your energy settles into the room. You're no longer the boy trying to earn permission to exist. No longer the man shrinking under pressure because someone else is emotional. No longer the defendant begging the jury to see his innocence. You become something older, heavier, calmer, a center she can feel, a presence she cannot shake, a man who does not vanish just because the moment gets loud. And here is the paradox. You didn't win. You didn't dominate. You didn't overpower her. You simply refused to abandon yourself. You stopped feeding the fire. You stopped negotiating with chaos. You stopped letting her emotions pull your nervous system out of alignment. And when the storm realized it could not move you, it died. Not because she lost, but because she finally found something she could land on. This is what women mean by a strong man. Not a bully, not a tyrant, not a cold wall of silence. A man with weight, a man with gravity, a man whose calm is real. Not performance, not a mask, but embodied. A woman does not want control, she wants containment. A center solid enough that she no longer carries the burden of leading the emotional moment. When she feels that, she softens, she exhales, she stops fighting ghosts and shadows. She returns to the woman she could not access while her ego was in charge. You didn't break her. You broke the illusion that she could break you. And now the truth is clear. Masculine stillness isn't about shutting her down. It's about creating the space where her real self can appear. Few men ever reach this level of presence. Few become the ocean. Few become the void. Few return as the king. If this hit a place you've been avoiding, it's because it was meant for you. If you're done collapsing when the room gets loud, done living as the defendant, and ready to embody a presence that cannot be provoked or shaken, hit subscribe and join the men who refuse to apologize for their strength. Your next lesson is waiting. Stoic detachment, the skill that makes you unbreakable. I'll meet you inside. The silence is waiting.